It is good to have you, and we're glad that you're here. And we're studying the Bhagavad Gita tonight, as we do periodically with you. Just about every other tape that you get, or almost every tape that you get, has the Bhagavad Gita on it, because we do it on a Friday night here. And we're trying basically to share things to show you, especially people who are more Western mind oriented, as we compare the Bhagavad Gita with the Bible. It makes you, I think, a lot more comfortable with the origin of things and the eternal wisdom that really is the picture of God. I've always said that Krishna seems to take the human mind and fill it full of divine ideas. Buddha seems to take the human mind and fill it full of practical ideas. And Jesus Christ comes along, takes both of them, and hands them to you. So with that out of the way, let's take a look. And if you have your copy that we handed out at what I have labeled 41:9. Here is a tremendous statement concerning being born again. Being born again not to be a positive thing. That's interesting, isn't it? Look, let's take a look what he says here. 41:9. This is Krishna speaking. He who realizes the divine truth concerning my birth and life is not born again. And when he leaves his body, he becomes one with me. Quite something, isn't it? You know, Christianity is the only religion in the world in which being born again is a positive thing, and the reason for that is they don't understand its meaning. I mean, Jesus Christ never went to one of his disciples and say, look, you must be born again. He went to religious people and said, you must be born again. But look at that again. He who realizes the divine truth concerning my birth. Do you realize the divine truth? Do you realize the divine truth? Do you realize the birth of the sun on December 25th, which you celebrate as Christmas, the end of the winter solstice? And as the trajectory of the earth moves on December the 25th, God's sun is born, and it starts its move upwards. And do you understand that? Do you understand that it has to be born out of the constellation Virgo, born of a virgin? Why? And then understanding the truth about that, do you understand that in the center of your abdomen, in the solar plexus, the place of the sun, that sun rises up to the pineal or pineal gland of the brain through the virgin consciousness of meditation. All of that. And so here is what he's saying. If you understand the truth of my birth, and what is the truth of his birth? It all happens inside of you. It happens in the macrocosm of the world as the sun, by the trajectory of the earth, travels around the zodiac. And it happens inside of you as the sun from the solar plexus rises up into the pineal gland of the brain and lights up the right hemisphere. When you understand that, when you realize that, and when you incorporate yourself into the birth of this divine presence, then there is no need to be born again. You become one with, as he says, me. You become one with the eternal. You say, oh, what does that mean? Remember what I was here speaking about the other night? There are some things you write up here. Remember in the Kabbalah, there are two aspects of your consciousness that are undescribable and you don't talk about. They're up here. You know, we don't write about them. We don't worry about that. The truth concerning my life. Okay, let's take a look at the Bible. Go to page, let's take a look if we understand the truth of the life of God, the truth of the life of Krishna, the truth of the life of Christ consciousness. In the New Testament, page 104, in those little Bibles. And the rest of you go to the book of John, John chapter 14. And let's see what Jesus Christ says is the truth concerning his life. Jesus representing that which is the Christ, that which is the Krishna, that which is the Christ consciousness. Page 104 in the New Testament, in those little Bibles, John chapter 14. Okay, now let's take a look at verse 20. And here's the truth, and here's what you have to understand. What's it say? At that day you shall know that I am in my Father, you in me, and I in you. That's the truth. That's understanding the truth. John 14, verse 20, and it's on page 104. Okay, now stay on page 104. Okay, stay at John chapter 14. John chapter 14. And look at verse 23. Okay? Page 104. John chapter 14. And now take a look at verse 23. If a man loves me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. So there you have two things. John chapter 14, verse 20, at that day you shall know that I am in my Father, you in me, and I in you. And whoever loves Christ will keep his words. What does that mean? It means do what he says. Practice the single eye. Enter within yourself. Cast your net to the right side. And what does it say will happen? That Christ and the Father will come and dwell within you. That's the life of God. The life of God exists within you. And this was what Krishna is saying. That's what Jesus understood. It was the Father within him who did the work. So you have to understand something, and there is no place in the Bible where you will ever find that Jesus Christ made one statement to his disciples that they must be born again. Never. He only said it to religious people. When you come down with a Bible under your arm and you got all of your hymns and all of your churchianity, he'd say, oh, no way. You must be born again. You're going to have to start over again and unload all of that stuff that you've accumulated, all of these rules and regulations and traditions, because you'll never accept this. How hard is it for you to talk to a person who's a religious person about this stuff? They can't. If you mention the name Krishna, they'd run away. They don't even want to discuss it. They don't even want to hear it. If you mention Buddha, they run like blazes. Yet they know nothing of their teachings at all, except what somebody else told them. Say. And so that's why they really have to be born again out of all of that tradition. And there's an interesting thing. When Jesus Christ talked to Nicodemus, who did he tell he must be born again? Nicodemus. This guy was a big ruler of the Jews. He was a religious leader, and he told him he must be born again. Now, here's the thing. Now, take a look with me to page 90 in your New Testament, and in John chapter 3. You're in the book of John. Just go to John chapter 3. And here's what now remember, Jesus is talking to a religious guy. It's just the same as if you're talking to a born-again Christian of today. He's talking to a religious guy. He's talking to somebody who is very powerful in the church. Talking to somebody who has all the credentials of a minister, of an evangelist, of a priest, of a rabbi, whatever you want to call it. He stares him in the eye, and look what he says here in John chapter 3, verse 7. Marvel not. In other words, don't you be surprised that I said unto you, you must be born again. And now here's the good part of this. See, this guy knew nothing about this. He knew nothing about reincarnation. He knew nothing about karma. He was never taught that stuff. He was taught the way you and I have been taught. Religion. Everything happens after you die. He was never taught that there was a continual interaction of your life into infinity, into eternity, that it never comes to an end. And so look at what Jesus says here. Look at John chapter 3, where you are, verse 10. Jesus said, you, a master of Israel, and you don't know these things? I mean, here you're a real religious big shot, and you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what born again means. And they still don't. You could walk up to any evangelist, you could walk up to any preacher, and you could say to the pastor, you're an evangelist, you're a pastor, and you don't know what these things mean? You've never heard of karma? They never have. They think that karma is some kind of an opera. Dun, 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 dun. They don't know what karma. What is this karma? And so here then Jesus says the same thing. Jesus was shocked. How could you be a spiritual person and not know what this means? How come you don't know this? And so you turn around and say, well, Jesus was talking about, being born of the Spirit. No, he wasn't talking about that. Jesus was saying that when you live as a human being, flesh and blood human being, that when you die, well, when your body dies, you don't die. But when your body dies, your spirit then finds its way into another womb and is born again physically. Very earthy. How do I know that? Look at John chapter 3, verse 12. Look what Jesus said when he talked about being born again. If I have told you earthly things and you don't believe, then how shall you believe if I tell you of heavenly things? You see that? There it is. There's the proof. You see, nothing, tell me this, nothing that you've ever heard in this place is not substantiated by that book. It's in there. What was Jesus talking about? Spiritual things? No, he was talking about earthly things. You've got to be born again, right here, planet Earth, bango, to start it all over again and get it straight without being encumbered by all those doctrines that you've had to swallow, and all those fears that you had to swallow, and all that guilt that you had to swallow. You've got to do it again. Nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. Do you realize if we had not had the opportunity to be born again earthly into this realm, we'd have never discovered these things. Because obviously we missed it before. But we didn't miss it this time. You get as many chances as you need. See? Everybody does. And you see, that's the great part. You can get the most cantankerous person that will call you a cult, will call you evil, will call you witches, and every other word under the sun. You know what? The next time, when they're born, they'll run into somebody just like you and say, oh! Because they'll never have known they were a cantankerous old so-and-so the last time anyhow. And so that's the beautiful part. Every single person, doesn't make any difference how against this they are, someday they'll, before they have to be, because it's the only way you can find your way to that which we call God. See? Now let's take a look at 41:9 again. Now notice Krishna says in 41:9 that as you understand these things, you are not born again. Now watch what he says here. What is Krishna talking about? He's saying that what happens here when you leave your body, after you know this experience, and after you're into your meditation and you start raising your kundalini energy, raise it up, and all of this happens and you become one. What does he say happens? Huh? He who realizes the divine truth concerning my birth and life is not born again. When he leaves his body, he becomes what? One with me. Aha! That sounds like a good deal. You're in John, right? Go to page 107 in the book of John, where you are, 107 in your New Testament, and go to John 17, page 107 in your little Bibles in the New Testament, and go to John chapter 17. Okay? Now look at here. Let's go back to 41:9. Krishna said, realize the truth concerning my birth. He is not born again. When he leaves his body, he becomes one with me. All right, look at John 17, verse 20. Okay? Neither pray I for those alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one. What did Krishna say? You become one. And what does Jesus say? They may be all one, Father, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you. What did Krishna say? When you overcome and understand, you become one with him. Now, is that exactly the same? Is it exactly the same? It's exact. Didn't Jesus Christ pray the same thing? That you may become one with the Father, just as he is one with the Father. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has said, once you turn on to this and understand this, when the body dies, you go become one with him. One with the eternal, universal, cosmic essence that we call God. So there it is. So what's the argument? What's the fight? Why is it that Krishna and Jesus teach exactly the same thing? Could they be the same person? Well, I've told you that story before, but of course people say, well, you can't say that Jesus. Oh, yes, I can, because Jesus said before Abraham was, I am. Who was to say? I am Krishna. Who's to say? I want to know why he teaches the same things. Why doesn't he disagree? And why was Krishna born of a virgin? And why did the wicked king Kansa set out to kill all the children 2 years and younger? And why was Jesus born of a virgin? And why did the wicked king Herod set out to kill all the children 2 years and younger? And why did the shepherds come to minister to Jesus? And why did the cowherd girls come to minister to Krishna? And why were the stars auspicious and one star shine over Krishna? And why did the star from the east shine over Jesus? Oh, it's just a coincidence. So as we go on now, let me share some of them. Remember this word. Deeply mystical, deeply religious word. Two-letter word. Me. Me. Okay? See, what is God's name? Who is God? I am. Huh. And when you say I am, what's another word you use for I am? Uh-huh. Don't let them hear you say that. See? That's great. Okay. Now I want you to take a look at something so we get an idea here. We're going to see this in the Bhagavad Gita, but you're in the book of John and you're in the Bible. Turn the pages back to John chapter 6. Okay? And learn to read Jesus Christ. Learn to read his words. Learn to read it biblically and mystically so that you gain from it. Jesus did not come himself to be an anointed God. He came himself to show you you are anointed. He came not to show how wonderful he is. He came to show how wonderful you are. Now watch what he says here. And now if you want to take this literally, fine. Otherwise, let's take a look at it mystically. John chapter 6. And let's go to, excuse me, verse 57. All right? As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. Do you have to take a bite out of his arm? Do you line up at the rail and take a bite out of his leg? Chomp maybe on a finger? What's he talking about? What's he talking about? See? He's saying that he has to be eaten. But basically that's an Eastern expression which says you eat the flesh of a person when you do what that person says to do. That's what Jesus was talking about. But he says, he that eats me shall live by me. You're at John 7. Go to page 99 to John 10. Page 99 to John 10. John 10, and let's go to verse 9. I am the door. Who's the door? I am the door. By who, if any man enters in? By me, if any man enters in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. Now you're at page 99. Go to page 104, John 14. John 14 and verse 6. Okay? I am. Who? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by who? No man comes unto the Father but by me. It's the same me that Krishna is going to refer to and refers to tremendously in the Bhagavad Gita. Now you say, you're going to look at me and say, no, wait a minute. Whoa, just a minute here. Jesus Christ is saying, he's talking about me, Jesus. I'm the one. I'm the way. I'm the truth. I'm the life. He's not talking about the I am, right? Not talking about the I am. He's talking about himself. All right. You're in the book of John. Flip back to John chapter 5. John chapter 5. A lot of Bibles tonight, but you got to see it. If you don't see it, what's the sense of it? What good is it? Say, incidentally, let me tell you this, and for those of you who are out in television land, you may be interested too. I have prepared a booklet. It's not informative, but I am preparing a booklet called How to Answer the Born Again Christian. And it gives you every single scripture that you need to justify your New Age following in Christ. Everything. Every answer that you'll need is in there. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm not just going to hand them out because there's a lot of work goes into it. And I don't want to make any profit. We're going to charge $5 for it. And I'll tell you why we're going to charge $5 for it. The reason is that we're going to make a nice binder for you. Each of the sheets will be in plastic so that you have it. I don't want handing stuff out that's going to wind up in a glove compartment or under the seat of the car or anything like that. I want you to have it because these people are going to ask you questions, and I want you to be able to open the Bible and open this thing and say, now wait a minute. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. All I'm trying to show you is it's in the Bible. You may not agree with my interpretation, so what? You don't agree with anybody else's. Everybody just wants their own. But I want to show you. So I'll have it for you, and if you're interested in that, just let me know, and I'll take care and get you one, okay? All right. We're here, then Jesus says, no one comes to the Father but by me, okay? Now look at John. You're on John chapter 5, right? You're on page 92. Go to John chapter 5. And go to verse, wait a minute, where am I? Verse 19. Verily I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself. Now, you're in John chapter 5, verse 19. Go to John chapter 5, verse 30. What does Jesus say? I can of my own self do nothing. See? Well, how honest does he have to be? What does he have to do? I mean, why can't we trust him? And see, we say that we want to believe him, and yet we'll say, no, he's God. The man just said he can't do nothing. It's in the Bible. You swear on it. You kiss it. They go into court with it and everything, but nobody wants to believe what the guy says. I can do nothing. And he's saying, of your own self, you can do nothing. But there is a Father within you who dwells at the right hemisphere. And when you will allow those doors to swing open through the single eye, the Father who is within you will do the work. And Jesus said, the works that I do, you can do, and you can do better than I did. And that's what he said. That's the Jesus Christ I know. That's the Jesus Christ I follow. And that is not the one who is preached and proselytized out in the streets. And now look at 41:10 here in Krishna. Look what he says here. And listen to this. Many have merged their existence in mine, being freed from desire, from fear, and from anger, filled always with me, and purified by the illuminating flame of self-abnegation. Abnegation means denial. Denying self. Merge their existence into mine. What did we read a minute ago? Jesus said in John 14:20, you shall know I am in the Father, you in me, and I in you. What do you do when you come in here on Tuesday night? And you go, or you go, Miyaho, Ringe, Kyo. You go, Christ, Christ, Christ. Whatever you do inside of yourself, you are merging your lower self into that which is the higher self. And the higher self comes down and consumes you and takes it up into its own. You're merging yourself into a oneness because you're separating from your own thoughts. And when you separate from your own thoughts, what's left? If there's none of you, then all that is left is what you call God. That center, the magnificent center of all life. Look what it says here in 41:10, being freed from desire. Ephesians 2:3 says we fulfill the desires of the flesh. Sure you do. And when is it that you're free from desire? The only time you're free from desire in your whole life is when you're in meditation and you rise above the thoughts of the mind. As soon as you come down, you want to do something. You got an idea, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other thing. See? And I know myself, I want this to happen, I want that to happen, and the more I plot and plan about the television network and all of these things, the more it goes jumble humble. Everything that we tried not to do, I wanted to get a prime time for this television program. We got to be in prime time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9. Where are we? 1:30 in the morning. I never picked that. But that's where it is. Why? How do I know? Say. But you see, the thing is, everything that we followed and every path that we followed and the steps along the way of this thing are done through spirit. You make a vain effort to try to do something, but anyhow, spirit has a way of doing what it wants anyhow. But you have to recognize that. And it says, freedom from fear in 41:10. And 1 John 4:18 says, there is no fear in love. And perfect love casts out all fear. What's the first thing the guy tells me when he calls me on the phone because I disagreed with him in about the fig tree? All I did was disagree about the fig tree, Mary. I didn't say anything other than the fig tree means inner blossoming. He says, no, it means Israel. And for misleading the people, you're going to hell. That's fear. Can't you just say, you're wrong, I disagree with you. No, you got to go to hell. Don't stop, don't pass go, don't collect $200, go right to hell. Why? I didn't hurt anybody, didn't steal anything, didn't beat anybody up. I disagreed with him. See, he doesn't worry about maybe he's going to hell because he disagreed with me. Doesn't work that way. See? I want to share something with you now. When Krishna in 41:11 says, being freed from desire, fear, and anger. Let me show you something about being free from anger. And that's a very important. Remember we taught Buddha last Sunday morning? What did he teach about? Anger. And remember what Buddha said anger was. What did he say? Well, I don't expect you to remember. I'll tell you what he said. He said anger is not getting mad. Anger is getting even. There's a big difference, isn't it? You can get mad, and everybody gets mad. But when you try to get even, then you know what you're going to do. Boy, Claire's looking at me. I know what you're talking about. All right. So, and there's a big difference. But let me show you something mystical in the Bible that I think you'll love, and it'll help you know about meditation and the mysticism of meditation and what Krishna is talking about. 557 in the Old Testament now, page 557 in your Old Testament, the rest of you, the book of Proverbs. And Joan, you may want to write this one down for your counseling sessions, because I think this is a good scripture, and a lot of you should have this to kind of give you a way as to how anger in people and so much anger builds up into people and how it can be resolved. Page 557 in your Old Testament, it's the book of Proverbs, okay? And we're at Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs chapter 21, page 557 in those little Bibles. Okay, Proverbs chapters 21. Now come with me to verse 14. What does it say? A gift in secret pacifies anger, and a reward in the bosom pacifies strong wrath. In other words, the secret gift that comes from He who is the Creator within you pacifies anger. That's the same as waking Jesus in the boat when the storm is coming, and He rises and says, "Peace, be still." The sleeping Christ within the boat rises up and says, "Peace, be still." And then Christian in 41:10 says, "Filled always with me, and purified by the illuminating flame of self-abnegation," which is denial of self. Okay. When we get into that, you talk about the 4 stages of consciousness above meditation. There's self-denial. There's no thought meditation. And look now with me to this next verse, and it shows the ultimate goal. You see, and this is what I'm talking about. Well, you get so frustrated sometimes with people who won't do what you, or try it. Oh, come on, just try it. No, I'm never going to do it. You're evil, you're a cult. Well, that person's going to die, as we all will. But that person will come back. And he'll pick up something of what he's learned and then come into a new experience. Look at what Krishna says, and this is great. 41:11. Howsoever men try to worship me, so do I welcome them. By whatever path they travel, it leads to me at last. So it's just, why not get used to it and do it the easy way? Why go beating through the bushes? Why not get right on the... What did Jesus say? Krishna said, by whatever path they travel. And what did Jesus Christ say? He identified the path. The road is narrow, and few there be who find it. Why not get on the road right now? And stop, wandering through the bushes and the brambles and all of that stuff. That's an interesting thing. Before we go on, we won't be too much long with you, but before we go on to the next verse, I want to define a word for you, and the word is worship. Okay? Most of us think of worship as, that's not what it means. That's not what the word means. Whenever you're in Christian circles, you say, worship God, and everybody, oh, Holy One, oh, high. That's not what it means. And you look into the dictionary. Doesn't anybody ever open a dictionary? We're English people. You got English dictionaries written by Webster and Merriam and all these people. Nobody reads the dictionary. Worship means, okay, honor and respect. Not a divine or a supernatural. To respect. To give honor. See? This is it. You want to respect what? Watch what we're going to respect. 41:12. Those who look for success worship the powers, and in this world their actions bear immediate fruit, not when you die. See? In this world, your actions bear immediate fruit. Who respect the powers, who honor the powers. What are the powers? The powers of the kingdom of God within you, the powers of the divine cosmic universal presence that dwell within each one of us. And it says that when you do this, your actions bear immediate fruit. Have you seen it? You people come in here, and you'll meditate, and we'll surround somebody with that golden light. Maybe you surround a Dave Preston with that golden light. He's got cancer, metastasis, and all this, and then you hear that the thing is going the other way, and he's in remission. You bear immediate fruit. Immediate fruit. That's all right. He's fine. Don't put the camera on him. We'll just tell him. He left a wake-up call. He'll be just great. Let me tell you something. It's beautiful that he came. Let it be at that. It's great. Okay? It's all well. And I used to listen to people like me and do the same thing. I don't blame them. It's okay. Okay. When we say their actions bear immediate fruit, this here then is quite contrary, okay, to that which Christianity teaches, because Christianity says that before you can get the fruit of your experience, you got to die. You got to die to go to heaven. Okay? But who does Jesus agree with? Let's go in your little Bibles to page 47 in your New Testament. Page 47 in your New Testament, and go to the book of Mark. Okay? Page 47 in your New Testament, go to the book of Mark. And let's go to Mark chapter 12. Now, I want to have a challenge here, right here, okay? Here's the challenge. Krishna has said that when you find this power, your life then will bear immediate fruit in this world. Well, that's what I read. In this world, their actions bear immediate fruit. Something good happens now. Okay? Now, Christianity teaches, of course, contrary to Krishna, no, that's not true. You will prosper in the next world, after you die. Let's see what Jesus says. Mark chapter 12, and I want to go to verse 27, talking about God. Jesus says, He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Therefore you do greatly err. In other words, you are screwed up. Made a big mistake. God is not a God of the dead. God is a God of the living, because you never do die. How could they possibly be a God of the dead if you never die? There is no such thing. Nothing ever dies. Oh, I know, you go to cemeteries. There's not dead people there. There's dead bodies there. There's no dead people in the cemetery. My mother died. Joan's mother's died. We've never gone to the cemetery. For what? If I had to think that my mother was in that box under the ground, I'd be depressed. I know that's not true. Very much alive. Probably a little kid coming to Sunday school here, about 5 years old. How do I know? But that's the way it is. That's what the guru said. All I know for sure is someday I'll be in another woman's womb. So how do I know? This is great. You know? Guess who's coming to dinner? Who knows? You know? Who knows? What's wrong with that? It's magnificently beautiful. And this is what is taught. And this is what's such an exciting experience. I always tell people, boy, you know, the way that nature and karma get back at you, you know, if you're proud to be an Irishman, and I'm proud as Paddy's pig to be an Irishman, no, for sure, next time you'll be born in Tel Aviv. Well, I'll tell you about this. I'm proud to be a Jew. I don't like this Irish what. Here's the same guy. Here's the same guy. Can you imagine a guy that's in a Ku Klux Klan? Wakes up, born in Harlem Memorial Hospital. Well, here I is. Boy, I'll tell you, nature will have a way of dealing with your pride, and that'll be the end of that. Real quick. And you learn the lesson. All of a sudden, you who is very anti-black is black. Now you're very anti-white. So the next time, I don't know what the heck you're going to be. But nature has a way of, I think it's a great trick, isn't it? I mean, the way that people get, oh, jeez. This is terrific. And as you begin to understand these beautiful things, you learn how we really do understand and begin to learn things. It takes a long time, and that's for sure. But it's in this world that salvation comes. I just wanted to show you this, and then we'll get out of here. If you look on 42, your next page of Krishna, 42:1. Krishna says the four divisions of society, okay? The four divisions of society. The wise, the soldier, the merchant, and the laborer. Okay? You can see how that Swami who wrote this was raised in Oxford by the way he spells laborer. Okay? What's the first one? The wise, the soldier, the, what is it? Merchant. And I'm going to spell laborer the right way. I'm only teasing. The four divisions of society, the wise, the soldier, the merchant, and the laborer, were created by me, now watch this, according to the natural distributions of qualities and instincts. the natural distribution of qualities and instincts. I am the author of them. Now watch this. What this is the fourfold nature. That's your fourfold nature. Okay? And you could attach the spiritual nature to who? The wise. Okay? You could attach the emotional nature to the soldier, couldn't you? You could attach the intellectual to the merchant, the intellect, and to the laborer, the physical. Okay? So there they are. The fourfold nature. That's you. The wise, the soldier, the merchant, the laborer. All of us have been them at one time. Right? You either mow the lawn, you sell Amway, you're out joining the Navy, or you go to school. Whatever it is. But notice that the 42:1 says, the fourfold nature is created by me according to the natural distribution of qualities. Ha! Now what do you see here? You see the non-selectivity of nature to distribute what? Personality. It's a natural process of genetic engineering and a natural process of divine entrance. It is a natural process. It happens. See? It is, how could we put it? Okay? According to the natural distribution of qualities and instincts. If your mother and father marry and they then have and consummate the marriage and the genetic engineering starts to go to work, the divine personality sets forth, there you are. You take your chance. I mean, it's really spinning. You're looking for 3 7s, and sometimes you come up nothing. You know, sometimes you come up with 3 7s, and you're born into a magnificent home, and you have all of this, and you have all of that. Other times you pull the lever, you come up with nothing. You're born in the desert to a Kalahari tribesman, and you may live for 3 years if you're lucky. It's not anybody picking somebody out and saying, here, you're going to get this because you're such a nice fella. Or because, I want to put this into a good Christian home. It doesn't happen that way. It's according to what? It's according to the natural distribution of qualities and instincts. You know what qualities are? What do we say qualities are? That inner thing that moves within you. Sometimes you judge on the exterior. You judge the act. You don't judge the quality. You judge what he did. You don't judge why he did it. Many times, as I said, you go into the courtroom and the attorney will stand up and say, we plead not guilty by reason of insanity. He's saying it's not the act that doesn't count. It's the quality. It's what happened inside. What caused this? Why did this happen? See? And he says here in 42:1, I am the author of them. See? The author of what? The author of them. That's the natural process. Birth and rebirth, continuing the species, on and on and on and on. And every operation in karma will give you an opportunity to build on your life, to change your circumstances. Every opportunity. Life. You're never going to die. You're going to go on forever and ever and ever doing this stuff. Now, see, the thing is, people can't understand, I want to remember. I don't know if I want to come back. I want to remember. You don't remember the last time. Tell me something that nobody knows. They go to people, take me back and tell me what happened. This guy will tell you anything. $400, you sit there and tell you were a princess on the Nile. This is great. I'm a princess on the Nile. But you were something. You were somewhere. You were somebody. And you have no idea. You know what? You don't even remember what you dreamed last night. You had an exotic adventure all night last night. You couldn't remember nothing. Maybe it wasn't that exotic, but you had an adventure. And you remember nothing. See? You don't have to remember those things. But just think, when I was driving in a car the other day and I was thinking of this, Joan, here you're going to be driving a car. Where will you be? It'll be you. You, exactly you, the one sitting here, will be go off somewhere. Maybe you'll be in London town, You'll be married to the Prince of Wales or Fish or something. There you are. And you don't remember where you were. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you'll be living in the Alps, in the Switzerland, nursing cows up the grade or whatever they do over there, or skiing or whatever they do. You won't ever remember being here in Forked River, listening to me in Vito's basement. You'll never know anything about it. But it'll be you. It'll be you. Is this interesting? It's wild, but it'll be you. And look what he says here. 42:1. I am the author of them, though I myself do no action and am changeless. Jesus Christ, as Paul says, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And then we'll finish up with 42:2, where he says, my actions do not fetter me. Fetter means restrain. That speaks of your divine mind, the realm of consciousness that moves in harmony with the universal purpose, you see? Because this is it. You get consumed and I get consumed into a bondage of, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do the other thing. What are they going to think if I don't do this? If I don't show up, what are they going to say? They keep inviting me, I never go, they're going to get mad. Oh, I don't know, I don't feel like it, I better go, I don't know, what should I do? I don't want to go. Call up and say I'm sick, all of this stuff. You know? They call me at the office, that somebody wants to talk to you. Who is it? The guy's selling. Tell him I'm in Chicago. I'm sorry, Mr. Donahue's in Chicago. Oh, okay. When he comes back, leave a message. Yeah, I'll call him. All of these things you make up. See? But what happens when you go into meditation? When you rise into... It has nothing to do with you. It's completely unfettered. You're going into a direction you have no idea. And this is what I love. I remember somebody taught one time, you take an inner tube and you put it around your waist and you have your little swimsuit on, and the water of life is rushing by. And you don't know where it's going, but the current is moving rapidly. So what do? You hold your nose and you jump. And it takes you where it will take you. And it leaves you where it will leave you. And you trust it. It's like when you go to the hospital and you lay on the operating room table and some bozo you never even met comes up behind you with a mask and puts it over your face and says, good night. Doesn't make any difference who he is. You trust him. What recourse do you have to do but trust him? You have no choice. Now here you are, you're living on a tennis ball going 40,000 miles an hour through the universe, nobody driving it. What choice do you have? You better trust these guys. You better trust them. Because where are you going to go? You're going to steer this thing in a different direction? Did you ever think of it? We're like a bunch of little ants. That reminded me of the story that time. Remember the two drunks on the plane? And the one looks out the window and he says, look at that, Eddie. My God, those people look like ants. Eddie says, they are ants. We ain't taken off yet. Oh. Didn't get him. Let's end this. Nor do I desire anything, my actions do not fetter me, nor do I desire anything that they can bring. 42:2. And he who thus realizes me is not enslaved by action. Universal purpose is to flow with the good that applies equally to all. Doesn't make any difference who you are. There's no benefit. There's no benefit at all. It's just right. See? What's the benefit to you if a rose smells nice? And you never come around. Did you ever go in the forest and there's wild roses and all of these things? Now, who's smelling them? Squirrel. What do you care? You see, there's no purpose to you, but they're going to smell nice anyhow. If a skunk walks by with its little tail up in the air, and that rose is going to smell nice. And it's not, the skunk says, that's nice. Do you ever see that Walt Disney things on the skunk? A little flower. I think they call the skunk flower. That's how flower got a name. The skunk says, that's very nice. See? It doesn't make any difference if there's a purpose. There is no. What's the purpose? For what? For anything. For what? Where is it going? Who's it going to? Why? Nobody knows. Look at him sitting next to you. What's his? I don't know. What is he? For what? I don't know. Look at her. What? For? I don't know. To give me clothes? To make peanut butter sandwiches in the morning for me? What's the purpose? See? And what's the universal? And what's the universal God say? What is there got to be if a cock the purpose? Why don't you just have a good time? Why don't you enjoy this instead of fighting about it and trying to find out all the things? Just enjoy it. You go to the beach. You put your little bikini, look at the sun. Say, what's the purpose of you? Who are you? What denomination are you? What do you care? You just expose yourself. Expose yourself and get arrested. That's right. You get cancer. But the purpose moves solely in love and nature. That is why God and religion have nothing in common. Religion moves in fear and purpose. God moves in love and nature. Divine love. Simply for what reason? Just so that you can enjoy it. And we've never allowed ourselves to enjoy it. We've studied books trying to figure it out and never just put the books down and run out and enjoyed it. It says, he who realizes me is not enslaved by action, because you flow in harmony with the divine universal presence and you're not subjected to the desires. You simply move freely in the cosmos and in the universe and in life. So Krishna teaches us tonight some beautiful and very deep things, and I hope either you get the tape, and if you don't, that you take that and read it, read his words. That's not hard for you to understand. Very simple for you. That translation is very simple, but it's very close to the very close to the classical writings of the Gita. And you learn some beautiful things about yourself. And then as you begin to understand that the Jesus, the Christ, teaches the same thing, you really say, gee, you know. Then the only thing you have to do is you have to square yourself with the system, the society, and those who look down on you, and you have to say, hey, I don't care. I don't care really, because I know what's true, and I know what's right, and I know what's life, and I will follow this pathway, this beautiful narrow pathway to peace. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Oh, well, okay. Rick, here you are. Thank you very much for joining us here.